I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
So we are still in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. One of my favorite things that happened to me since I've been out here is kind of in the thick of the storm. I was going a little stir crazy, and I was like furiously checking the weather to see when there'd be a lull so I could get out and maybe try for a run.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out because I was just like, you know what, F it, I'm just going to go see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It was great for like the first 3 miles. And then I got caught in a torrential downpour.
Ooh. And you were happy about that?
When I was planning it, I thought that was going to be awful. But as I was in it and there was nothing I could do about it, it was actually great. Like, it was so liberating. I have not been out running in the rain, I don't know, probably since I was a child. And thankfully I was already kind of on the turn, like heading back to the place I'm staying. But as I was going, there was one other runner out there and we locked eyes with each other. And as he was passing me up, he stuck out his hand for a high five. And we just like, it was like the most brotastic thing I've done in a while.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So,
you know what? 1 year, I want to say it was like 2015, something like that. I did the Atlanta Publix half marathon, and it is usually on I think it's on a Sunday or a Saturday. I don't know. Whatever it was, all the people that were going to do the race that I knew, they saw the forecast and it was supposed to be raining the whole time. And people were just like, nah, I'm good. So everybody just backed out, including my main running partner. So I remember I just decided, okay, bump it, I'm gonna just go. And I get on the MARTA, which is our public train, and get to, the starting site. And it is like I'm standing there and it is just pouring down. And it's kind of cold too. You know how you like get those, those aluminum wraps from other races. So I had an aluminum wrap from another race.
Man.
That I was trying to figure out how was I going to manage this here at this. I'm like, I'm cold, it's wet, and you know how I am about my hair. I ain't out here trying to like wet my hair down. So I ended up biting with my teeth this thing, turning it into like making a strip out of it and making a hair wrap with it and tying my hair down with this thing. And I had a baseball hat and I put the baseball cap on over it. And it was cold, and I just decided, like, bump it. I'm just gonna go for it. And that's a very hilly, tough race. And I just like ran this race in the rain, and I don't know what it was about that little thing that I had, but when I got home and I took that thing off my head, my hair looked like it looked right now.
Oh my God.
Because one, I don't sweat in my hair, but my hair didn't get wet because my cap was kind of having a big bill on it. But I don't know. So I felt like, it was not a PR, but, I actually felt like I was winning.
That is a PR, like to do 13 miles and cold and wet and have your hair intact.
By myself, with nobody with me, nobody to amp me up, nobody to pace me, nothing. It was just me by myself in what is notoriously a very, very difficult race because it's very, very hilly.
Yeah.
I was just like slugging it out by myself.
That's amazing.
And I have like, I have this picture of myself at the end of that race, like jumping in the air with my hand up. And I'm soaked. And I'm just like, yeah, it was legit.
I did not look cute after my downpour, but thankfully nobody was there.
I bet you was cute. I bet you was cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you today on a scale of 1 to 5?
I think probably a 4.9.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Again,
I know. In Hawaii, the sun's out like It's already been just like a really lovely day so far.
I think I'm about a about a 4.3, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just busy. I have a couple of deadlines that require a creative spurt that has not happened yet, that needs to happen very soon. I have a flight I'm catching tomorrow for a turn and burn talk I'm giving in North Carolina, and the Atlanta airport right now, and all airports
Girl.
is straight up the Hunger Games. And this is the kind of thing where the plan has to come together. I have to make the flight. I can't, like, it's not a situation where I need to get there in time, you know. And you know me, I'd be like in the, like, cut it close.
Yep.
So from what I am looking at, I think I'm gonna have to go to the airport at as soon as we log off. I'm not be at the airport
So go ahead and
for a
spend the
flight
night.
tomorrow. Oh, Lord. Yeah. So that isn't fun. I'm
I
not
feel
excited
you.
about that, but
Yeah.
it's all good. It's a good problem to have. Let's see. I did start reading Rest is Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And very, very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about what it means to just sit down and
Mm,
rest, and how much of culture is built around being industrious, and where that even comes from, that idea comes from,
mm-hmm.
is is painstakingly thought-provoking. That's it.
It- Painstaking being the operational word here.
Yeah.
It is still kind of hard to wrap my mind around just how conditioned I feel towards kind of the grind culture. Not that I would include myself as, someone who participates in the grind, but I still have a lot of difficulty disentangling my sense of value from being productive. The temptation to make lists and want to get through that list, and just being able to sit still and exist for the sake of existing.
Yeah. I think I'm a hit dog that's hollering because I'm about that grind life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Mm-hmm.
to grind, and it is affirming to me, but it's probably, it's all these things that we make as jokes, particularly cultural jokes, that I see on social media sometimes. And now that I'm reading this book, I'm seeing all those jokes differently. For example, have you ever seen the memes where they say Black people on Saturday morning, white people on Saturday morning? And it'll be like some kid, like the Black family is like up, they like cleaning up, the kids got toothbrushes scrubbing the baseboards. Everybody is like cleaning up,
Yep.
and then the other family, they like on a swing set somewhere, chill, you know. And then I also think about when we were kids, if we were laying on the couch watching cartoons, when my dad pulled up, we jumped up and we had a nervous disposition. We just jumped up and we were doing something. You just couldn't look lazy.
Yeah, right.
Got to be doing something, like looking industrious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad always called it a nervous disposition. Look like you ready to do something,
Mm-hmm.
ready to be helpful.
Yes.
And where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. In the spirit of trading recommendations and me needing to switch gears to something a little lighter, I did pick up Theo of Golden yesterday, and I'm just getting started, but I'm really excited
I'm
getting
excited
through it.
for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. That reading that book is like somebody telling you that they're about to watch Ted Lasso for the first time. You wish you could be experiencing it for the first time.
Good. I
So
like being on the other side of this.
yes, you're gonna love it. I'm so excited for you. That's gonna be good.
Yes.
Yay. Well,
Excellent.
good. I'll let you know if I can make it through rest is resistance. I
I
feel like, oh
know.
my gosh, punching
I
me in the face, lady. Mm.
Well, again, the reason for the season is, as always, is to get into some stories. And, even though I'm sitting pretty on a 4.9, overlooking the shores of Oahu, it does actually get better from here for me
Oh,
because I'm about to be on the receiving end of a story from the Dr. Manning, such an extraordinary witness, sage, giver of advice, teller of epic stories, clinician, educator, traveler, even for these last minute turn and burns, all the things.
ah,
Sis, thank you for being here. I know it's a busy time,
it's all good.
but I appreciate, you showing up for us. So, all that being said, what's the what?
The what is normal?
Normal.
I feel like I say this all the time. I feel like a broken record. It doesn't matter if we said
It
it
don't,
before. It don't
it don't
matter.
matter no more.
Okay, y'all,
Yeah.
look, I'm just gonna like kings, queens, non-binary royalty. I'm just gonna just assume it might have happened before, but you ain't heard this story before. Okay. When somebody says normal, what comes to mind?
The hard part about that is when I hear normal, I kind of have this a bit of a negative
Yeah.
connotation. So
Yeah.
kind of bland, unoriginal, not unique. But on the flip side, when I think about it, it's like sometimes normal is great, you
Mhm.
know?
I love that you said that because that is the context I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
And normal is great. There are things that happen day to day in our lives that are so normal that they become like background noise. We don't even realize that they're happening until they don't. And if we are too busy, we could miss a cue or not pay attention to something. But every now and then something happens and it goes away from normal and it is significant. And that is the first sign that something is very, very wrong.
Mm.
And I had an experience probably like about 2 years ago that also made me think of another experience. So I'll share about both. But I was at Grady one day and I was on the hospital service and there was this woman who had been admitted to my hospital service. She was probably in her mid 70s. For the most part, she was a fairly functional person. She had a lot of health problems, but she lived independently. She had a lot of family around and wasn't hospitalized a lot or anything. And she had some mild dementia, but still was quite functional and it was fine mostly. She came to our primary care clinic regularly. People knew her well. She was in care. And she had gotten admitted to the hospital because initially it was thought that she had urosepsis. But, when we were preparing to kind of discharge her, she still wasn't quite better. And we were trying to figure out, do we need to do more? Or like maybe she just needs to go to subacute rehab and let's just get her out of the hospital. When she gets home, she'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of preparing to discharge this lady. It wasn't perfect. And a lot of times with some of our patients who have grown older and who have a lot of medical problems, it's not perfect, but you're hoping it's going to kind of turn the corner when they get home.
Yep.
So she had a son, and her son was, yeah, I don't know, he was like in his late 30s, and he loved his mother a lot. And he was there daily. He didn't live with her, but he would come up there every day. He was the, person who come talk to us. He wanted to know what was going on with his mama. We needed to call him. And he wasn't anybody that was difficult or anything. He just wanted to know what was going on. I'll be the one helping my mom. She's gonna stay with me for a little while until she get better. We're like, cool. So he told me that he felt like something wasn't right with his mom. He's like, something don't seem normal about her. Like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like y'all need to look for some more stuff because something is not right. Like, I don't know. I feel like this wasn't just no bladder infection that got in her blood. This is, I don't know. My mom, I was like, well, what else has she been doing at home? He was like, I don't, she just, I don't know. It just don't seem right. So let me tell you what he did. I am not joking. That day, he went home and he went by the Grady Farmers Market, the Curb Market,
Mm-hmm.
and bought some food. And he made his mama some oxtails. He brought them oxtails to Grady Hospital. And he said, Mama, I made you some oxtails. And one of the things that he was saying in the hospital is that she had not been eating well. And we,
Mm.
people don't eat well a lot of times when they're in the hospital because they don't like the hospital food. But he put them oxtails in front of his mama and she didn't want them oxtails. You would have thought they needed to call a code on the spot. Not say, when I say his mama not wanting them oxtails alarmed him, so like it was actually funny to me at first until I realized he was not laughing. Like the nurse called me and they're like, her son wants to see Dr. Manning, like the quarterback. And I was like, okay, nope, I'm in the hospital. I'll come over there. I come over there and he's like, something ain't right with my mama. Something ain't right with my mama. Y'all gonna have to check her for some more stuff because something ain't right. I'm not taking her out of this hospital like this. And I was like, whoa, 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 what happened? I went home and I made my mama some oxtails. And I brought my mama some oxtails and I put them oxtails right there. And I see the plate and it's got the oxtails on there. It's got some collard greens, some rice, some gravy. My mama ain't eating no oxtails. And I'm telling you right now, if my mama don't eat no oxtails, something wrong. And I feel like my mouth kind of twitch up a little bit because that shit was funny. I was like, what? Wait a minute, hold up. I ain't never heard of the oxtail sign. Like, what? And then I realized he's not laughing. He is serious. And then, I don't know if you've ever made oxtails or seen somebody make oxtails. That's a process. That's a
Mhm.
slow cooking process. This is something that people do with love. This is not an everyday, Tuesday night meal. This is something you
Yep.
go cook with, like, because you really putting thought into it.
Right.
And then it dawns on me that, like, this was really like the ultimate litmus for him. So I was like, you know what? This is not normal. This is not normal. And he knew that there would be like it would have to be something very, very serious for his mom not to eat no oxtails. And that lady ended up having multiple myeloma.
Wow.
At the time, it was very subtle, but his reaction made me go sit in front of the computer and carefully look through her labs. So as I carefully looked through her labs, she was a little bit anemic, but she had always been a little bit anemic, because she had chronic kidney disease. But her
Hmm.
anemia was a little worse. Her calcium was a little bit elevated. It was like right at 10.
Hmm.
But she had been on a thiazide diuretic. She was like on a diuretic. So I was like, yeah, that could have been the reason for that. Her total protein was a little bit elevated against a slightly lower albumin. And then we just were like, you know what, bump it. Let's let's just check a couple of tests. So I sent off a SPEP and a UPEP, and it was abnormal. That lady had multiple myeloma, and it was not smoldering. It wasn't, you know, undetermined significance. It was
Hmm.
multiple myeloma. And the literal prompt was that something was not normal, something
Yeah.
small. And if he had not advocated for her in that way, if he had not made her oxtails, I'm not sure when we would have made that diagnosis. And though she had a lot of comorbidities, she was at a point where she could be treated.
Hmm.
So I never forgot that. That wasn't that
Golly.
long ago. That was like a couple years ago. I just remember how funny it was to me and how he wasn't joking.
Hmm.
As you know, in 2012, my sister died of a sudden cardiac death. The very, very first sign that something was terribly wrong was that my sister used to pick my kids up after school from aftercare. And the joke we always had was that when she picked them up at a good time. And then when mommy picked them up, I came in on two wheels and my kids was like two of the last kids there. And she used to tell me I was trifling for that. She's like, you trifling for that. Don't no kid want to be the last kid waiting. So I tried to call my sister because my schedule changed and I didn't need her to pick them up that day. And I was ahead of time. It was like 4 something. And I knew she would be heading over there soon. And you have to pick up by 6. She normally would come before 5, around 5. And she was going straight to voicemail, which is not really that big of a deal because she's an educator and sometimes her phone is off at work. But at the time when I knew she was done with work, I texted her. And you know how iPhones look blue if their phone is on, and it's
Mhm.
another color if the phone is off. Her text messages were reading green, which meant her phone was dead and she wasn't getting the text messages. And my sister, much like me, she liked her devices. So she wasn't ever away from her phone. She always had her phone. I wasn't using social media back then, so I called my younger sister and I said, "Hey, look and see what's the last thing Deanna posted on Facebook or commented." And she hadn't been on there all day. But the first sign that something wasn't normal was the stuff with her phone. And I didn't really even feel scared then. I didn't feel, this was kind of like the guy saying, I feel like something ain't right with my mama, but not quite yet alarmed.
Mm.
That's where I was. I was like, something feel weird, but I'm not quite alarmed yet. It was about 5:20 and I still couldn't reach my sister. And by 5, she has always gotten the kids. So I called Harry and Harry was near the school. And I said, hey, run by the school and see if Deanna has already gotten the kids from aftercare. And when he got to aftercare, it was like 5:35, and he walked in there and he texted me and he says, "Hey, I got the boys." He's not even alarmed yet. The very second he told me he had those kids was when I knew my sister was gone. I knew it. I said, over her dead body, would she leave my kids at that school past 5:30? Over her dead body. And that is the first thought that came in my head. I was like, God. And it wasn't, it was a very, very like sharp, discerning moment. I knew it. And when I reflect on that man and his mom, I was like, he knew it was a big diagnosis. He knew it wasn't something little. And when he put those oxtails in front of that lady and she didn't eat them, it was like my kids being at that school at 5:35. I was like,
Mm.
ain't no way in hell. She didn't get arrested. She didn't get held up at work. She is physically unable to make sure that this didn't happen. Because I couldn't think of any circumstance where that would have happened unless she could physically not do it. And I always remembered that. I have never really felt that way since. I've never felt such strong discernment since.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, but I have learned to respect it in my patients because some people feel it about themselves. Some people feel it about their loved one. Some people feel it about something else. I don't know. But, whether you believe in a higher power or, not or whatever, I do believe that there are moments of discernment where you absolutely positively know. And you might not know all the details, but you know something. And it's almost always some little tiny thing that has deviated from what is normal.
Mm.
And for that lady, it was oxtails that her
God.
son made. He said, and he kept calling them my oxtails.
Oof.
I made my oxtails for my mama, and my mama did. If I bring my oxtails to my mama and she don't eat it, something ain't right, and I'm not taking her home until y'all figure it out. And you know what? He was right.
Mm.
I should have presented a paper on that, a poster.
Maybe that's
uh,
the
uh,
next talk.
Oxtails as a marker of your ass needing to work up some more stuff in your patient.
God. I have to sit with this one. Because it's such a powerful connection, even kind of the humor in that story still kind of leaves me a little shook because we have so many stories like this where a loved one or the patient themselves is trying to communicate that something is off, but because it doesn't fit our like fixed paradigms, and then outside of that there's so much external pressure to get patients out of the hospital or get them out of the clinic so we can move on to the next. We're incentivized not to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the beauty of you recognizing the seriousness of this man's conviction
Mm-hmm.
and going back to look at the labs and ordering the diagnostic test.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the appreciation of, call it discernment, intuition, a God moment but the seriousness of people's knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and that it comes from a place often outside of our cognitive ways of understanding or cerebral ways of
Yep.
interpreting things. You know, sometimes you have to switch that off
Yep.
and listen, but so much in the world distracts us away from that knowing.
Yep.
You know, no matter how many times I hear you talk about Deanna, it still leaves me with chills,
Mm-hmm.
the way that that experience unfolded.
You know, it's weird. The Deanna part of that story isn't the part that chokes me up. What chokes me up is the thing is I know all the components of what that man did. I like I have gone with my mother-in-law into the Grady Curb Market to shop in the meat section to get some oxtails. I have seen someone, I don't make oxtails, by the way, but I have watched somebody make oxtails and there was just so much love in it.
Mm,
And this guy, he was working a manual job that had a where he had a uniform and he would come up there and he would be in his uniform and he had kids and everything and he'd be asking about his mama, and family meetings, whatever. He was all in. But in the middle of all of that, he loved his mom so much that he was like, I know once and for all how to figure out if I'm tripping.
mm,
And and that is to make my mama what I know my mother will want. And that is my oxtails. And the fact that there is even a thing called your oxtails, that makes me so happy. And it
mm,
also just counters so many ideas of exactly what this black man would look like if you saw him walking down the street.
mm,
Like this was a loving, doting, caring young man who was seeing about his mama.
mhm,
And maybe even the boy mom in me is just like deeply moved by every aspect of that. But
mhm,
he saved his mother's life that
mm.
day. He slowed
Yeah,
us down. He threw a flag on the play in the form of an oxtail for his oxtail.
I know. I want to see what that recipe is looking like, but
Oh, man, it must be serious because everybody thought it was funny until it wasn't.
yeah.
Because when a nurse called me, she was like, girl, she was like, girl, this lady's son that made her some oxtails, and she won't eat them. And he up in here throwing a fit. And I'm like, that lady is sick. She don't want no oxtails. And she's like, he kept saying, she will want my oxtails unless something is wrong. And it wasn't until I came over and put my eyes on him
Mm,
that I knew how much work and thought and care he had put into that and how worried he was.
mm.
And it was like a weekday. Who makes oxtails on a Thursday?
Right? Just to bring him in.
Just to show y'all that, like, I'm not tripping.
Yeah, gosh,
Oh,
man.
God.
When did you reflect on that in the context of your experience with your sister?
Probably like a year later.
Mm,
It was a long time. It was a long time because it was one of these days that I was just thinking about her and I was thinking about how very early I knew that she was gone. I knew
mm,
that. I knew she was gone. And the way that I was able to kind of navigate talking to my family, I was talking like I knew she was gone.
mhm,
But I knew something or extremely, extremely ill in a place where she couldn't move, like unconscious.
mhm,
So but it was when the minute Harry called and said, the kids, I have boys. And that was, 5:35 p.m. on November the 15th, 2012. That's when I knew my sister was gone.
mm.
And nobody had been at her house, nothing. But that's when I knew.
Yeah.
That's one of the dope things about medicine and life. It's all these lessons up in it. And the people that love people the most, we got to listen to them.
Yes.
Like parents, telling doctors about their children,
Mm-hmm.
children telling doctors about their parents, and people telling you about themselves. It is hard to be a little objective about yourself, but that's just a lesson that, because I was extremely sure that day, and it just made me think about him and how sure he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're a catastrophizer, you know when that feeling I had that day. Well, it wasn't like my regular catastrophe Kimberly Manning thoughts, and they are plentiful. But this was different. This was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm learning to distinguish that myself.
yeah.
I've had a handful of these moments, but I guess the longer I've been alive, the more clear it is what feels like something in the realm of my own thoughts or anxieties versus something deeper and wiser.
And it might not be bad. It might be something good.
Yeah.
But in a hospital setting, a lot of times the patient and the loved one, that's not who is given the authority.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a good story for people to hear if they are in a position of authority, whether that is in a hospital setting, whether you're an educator, whether you're a manager of people or anything, where if somebody's trying to tell you something that they know for sure, rooted on something that has changed from normal, take a minute and just slow down and see what they're talking about. You might find something that you didn't know was there. And
Yeah.
I would have missed that diagnosis because it was subtle, and it wouldn't have been the kind of miss that you would have said I was an incompetent doctor for.
Mm-hmm.
It was just put all together. I had to be like, I don't know. Gurpreet would have made the diagnosis
For sure.
on the
Only
first
Gurpreet, though.
day.
Yeah,
Gurpreet,
exactly.
Gurpreet would have made the diagnosis. But if you listen to this, Gurpreet, shout out to you, man.
Shout
You would
out
have
to
made
Dr. Dollywall.
you would have made the diagnosis.
Yes. But for the rest of us mere mortals, that
That's
might
right.
have taken some
I
time to
needed an
declare itself.
oxtail intervention. Woo, girl. Well,
Ugh,
in 10 minutes, I get to meet with one of my medical students. You have a most magnificent rest of your day in Hawaii.
I certainly will.
Yeah.
And I hope you have a great meeting with your student. I know that student is incredibly lucky. So enjoy that time. Best of luck with your travels tomorrow. If you do decide to head to the airport 12 hours early, it probably will still work out fine.
Correct. And you know what? I look forward to traveling again in May
Mm-hmm.
to the Society of General Internal Medicine
Yes, y'all.
national meeting where we will what? Be live and direct.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say it enough. Come check out your girls. You
Yes.
know, we're like one of those legit podcasts where like we've had multiple lives. You know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. We're real, y'all.
Who's better than
Come
us?
through.
Yeah, come through. All right,
Yeah.
sis. Well, make it a most magnificent day.
I intend to. And
And,
you as well.
and even if you can't,
Don't you dare go messing up nobody else's, please.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Shout out to Tab and
Mm.
shout out to us.
Yes.
Love you, sis.
Love you too.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
We see you and you are enough. Holla!